It gave me a book in order to learn from. And that book was called A Course in Miracles. Now, A Course in Miracles is a universal spiritual, non-dualistic practice. Okay. And in my life, it was incredible because I'm a Hindu. So I would have thought my practice would have been Advaita Vedanta,
Yeah.
which is obviously Hindu. It's it's the Indian philosophy. Okay. But for me, it wasn't, it was A Course in Miracles. Course in Miracles is the Western version, you would say, of non-duality. It's millions of people, follow it, teach it, and they're students of it, and it's rising. And what's interesting with the Course in Miracles is it actually, the guru is given to you, and it comes to you as Jesus Christ, right? So when you're going through the course, which is a book basically, Jesus comes to you as the teacher. He's the guru. And so for me, I was doing it with Guruji and Jesus, always teaching me how to separate the ego from the divine mind. And the difference is between them, because you're kind of entangled between both and you don't know the difference. And so it was going through that process, which was incredible, and that transformation is, no word for it really, surreal from where you are.
Welcome to Silent Sages Speak, the podcast where timeless wisdom meets the present moment. I'm your host, Sukhdev Verdi, and in each episode, we delve into the profound teachings of non-dual masters, those who have transcended the boundaries of duality and revealed the simplicity of existence. Join us on this journey beyond words as we explore the essence of being with those who have realized the truth that goes beyond language, beyond thought. Open your mind, silence your chatter, and let the wisdom of silent sages resonate within you. Today, my guest is someone who was born and brought up in the United Kingdom, pursued a career in chartered accountancy, and specializes in financial investments. In 2015, after his father passed away, an intense yearning to know who he really was, the meaning of life, and his relationship with a greater power followed. Today, he is a spiritual coach himself and a self-aware author of the best-selling book titled Introducing You to Your Own Perfection. I'd like to welcome to the show Akash Sky. Welcome to the show, Akash.
Oh, thank you, Sukhdev. Thank you for that lovely introduction, and it's really nice to be on here. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I also appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule. I know in London it's like is it lunchtime? Is it doing this
Yes,
during a
it is.
lunch
Yeah.
break? Yeah. All right. Akash, I read a little bit about you online. I want you to start off with the name, Akash Sky.
Yes.
And you have a beautiful, story about how you got that name, how you added it up. I want to hear it from you.
Yeah. So, well, my whole life I've been called Akash. Akash is my name, and
Yeah.
I lived, I would say, about 30 years of my life was very ego-centered. It was all around Akash being Akash and only Akash. And it's the ego self personality, and after 30 years, there was a trigger in me that kind of went into what Akash really is. What does Akash mean? In Hindi, it actually means sky.
Yeah.
And sky represents that eternal essence. That everlasting, changeless divinity. It has no limits.
Yeah.
And that's really what it was. And so it's kind of like that Akash sky is that representation. You've got Akash, who's the ego self personality, the person, and you've got sky, which is what it means, which is quite funny, and that represents what we really are. So it's funny how life gives that to you.
Yeah. Sky, like I love the way you have added it to the name. Sky. Obviously, we're talking about that which is infinite, and that's what
Yeah.
non-duality is about. So, Akash, tell me now. You were born and brought up in the UK. You pursued chartered accountancy, went into financial investments. How did you come into spirituality and finally into non-duality? To walk us through that, your journey.
So the first 30 years, honestly,
Your voice has gone down a bit. Oh, it's, I think,
I'll speak a bit louder. I'll come
no,
closer.
no, it's, there's something, either you're covering the mic or something. It's gone completely.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah.
Can you hear me now?
A
Yeah,
little better, a little better, yeah.
little better. Not too good. Should I get some headphones?
Yeah, try that, I think. I'll wait
Okay.
if you can. Not a
I,
problem.
okay. I'll be back. 1 second.
Yeah, no problem. Take your time. All right. Yeah, meanwhile, while we're we're waiting, uh, the reason I asked that is because Akash in Hindi is a Hindi name, and it actually means sky. And the sky, as we know, is infinite, limitless. And it just sounds good. Akash, sky. Just to let you guys know, whoever's still watching, that Akash still practices his financial investments.
There we go. Let's see if this is any better.
Yeah, yeah, that's much better, much better.
Check my audio.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
That's much
hopefully you
better.
can hear me.
Yeah, now looks like the pilot has put on his
Perfect.
headphones and we can take off now.
That's it. Yeah, so the first 30 years was like I said, it was very ego-centered. It was very much associated with the body mind. So Akash really believing that he is the body and the mind of Akash and only of Akash, which is obviously what most of us go through here.
Yeah,
We focus on that ego self personality that is special. It's the I. And actually there was looking back. There's actually a lot of suffering involved with that. Because what you accept as I, you reject the rest as not yourself, and in that suffering, there's two ways you can really go with it. It could lead to continual of suffering because you just want to still be determined to be an I, or the suffering could get to such a point where you have just had enough, and you just want the truth, and for me it was when I was 30, when I lost my dad, and you lose that person in your life that you rely on to keep you safe, to bring you, to make you happy, to care for you. You lose that fatherly image, and in losing that, you kind of feel like, what am I doing? What have I been doing the last 30 years of my life? And that's the when self-inquiry began. And at 30, it was an inward journey, and I actually connected with something called Guruji. So Guruji is in Punjabi. There's a culture, and there's a cultural. It's a sangat. The sangat is like global followers of Guruji. So Guruji actually is formless. He's not in the world, but there was an image. His image just was it's the Guruji is the essence of Lord Shiva. Okay. And when I see the image, it was almost like finding your guru. It's like finding that father that will never leave you, and it was at the start of it, that connection was really it was believing that he's a person, okay, and that he's and as you go deeper into it, you start to realize actually it's the divine essence, it's the divine light. It's what it represents is that infinite, immortal light, and actually, you could use whichever symbol you like. You could use Jesus, you could use Prophet Muhammad, you could use the Buddha, you could use what works for you. And for me, when I just saw it, it was a connection immediately that this is my savior. And you live a surrendered life to that. You realize you're really humbled to actually you've come and you've rescued me, and you've always been there, but I just didn't want you because I wanted to be an I.
Yeah.
And so I connected with that. And then I had so many questions, it just pile on the questions in the mind, and it gave me a book, basically. It gave me a book in order to learn from. And that book was called A Course in Miracles. Now, A Course in Miracles is a universal spiritual, non-dualistic practice. Okay. And in my life, it was incredible because I'm a Hindu. So I would have thought my practice would have been Advaita Vedanta, which is obviously Hindu. It's the Indian philosophy. Okay. But for me, it wasn't, it was A Course in Miracles. Course in Miracles is the Western version, you would say, of non-duality. It's millions of people, follow it, teach it, and they're students of it, and it's rising. And what's interesting with the Course in Miracles is actually the guru is given to you, and it comes to you as Jesus Christ, right? So when you're going through the course, which is a book, basically, Jesus comes to you as the teacher. He's the guru. And so for me, I was doing it with Guruji and Jesus, always teaching me how to separate the ego from the divine mind. And the difference is between them, because you're kind of entangled between both and you don't know the difference. And so it was going through that process, which was incredible, and that transformation is, no word for it, really, surreal from where you are. It's absolutely incredible. And what was interesting in my life was Jesus wasn't someone that was something I wasn't accustomed to. My mum was born in India, but she brought us up in the UK. I was born in the UK with my siblings, and mum insisted on going to a Christian school in my upbringing. And so Jesus was in my infant school. We were doing reading the Bible and that sort of stuff. So growing up, Jesus was just very familiar with Jesus, and the prayers of the Bible and all that sort of stuff. So it was really, when I saw that when I was reading the course and studying the course, it was coming to me. It was Jesus, and it was absolutely fine to use Jesus as well, and again, you can choose what you like, because it works. Each of us has an ego self personality, which is unique. So we will have specific symbols that we could use that makes it easier, makes the connection easier. And we use the one that we want. And so the Course in Miracles is actually made up of 3 different sections. You've got the text, you've got the teacher's manual, and then you've got 365 workbook lessons. And use one rule, and the rule is just do 1 lesson a day. And that's all you do, so it took me about 18 months to really go through it steadily, and I actually thought at the time I couldn't study it because I had a very busy life. I said, look, how am I going to, Guruji, Jesus, how am I going to study this? It feels impossible, but the divine finds divine timing, and I moved jobs, and on that new job there was train rides. I wasn't driving on the cars. There was train rides. It was an hour to get in, an hour to get back. And I was actually doing workbook lessons on the train. I was studying it on the train with headphones on to block off to make it silent. And then when I went into work, the lesson was drummed into me through what I call the dream figures outside, the people outside, right? So the lesson was learned on the train rides. And when I went into work, it was reinforced at work in situations. And the teaching really was all about the miracle. The miracle is the solution. The miracle is holy forgiveness at every moment. You are forgiving what you see, because what you see is distorted perception. And what you're doing is you're handing over the distorted perception over to the divine, and the divine corrects your perception and brings unity to what you see as separateness. And so at that moment, you are seeing a lie, that this can actually be painful, because what we are doesn't suffer. What we are doesn't have pain, but you're seeing through your perception, you're seeing a lie. And so most of us don't do anything about it. We blame them. They did this to me, they did that to me, and they carry on. And so what happens is the form just changes, and you get the same problem again and again and again and again. And so what we do is, when you release it through the miracle, through holy forgiveness at that moment, which is literally a mind, it's a mind, it's something that you say in your mind with the divine at that moment, and you release it, you let it go. And it doesn't carry you with you on this journey. It doesn't come through in as different lives. It reduces space-time, because your lesson has been learnt. Your space-time is no longer required, because time is here to heal separateness, in order to be the one, to be one, which is what we are. And actually, what is even more fascinating is you get to see the outside world as a dream.
Yeah.
It's not really happening. It's not really happening to you. It's coming from you. It's amazing, and this way of living, I mean, my personal life is actually very different. I've got two children who are 2 years old and 4 years old, and a married life. So I'm not a monk, or I've got that married life, the householder life, we call it, I believe, in Vedanta, we call it that. And that householder life with a mortgage, with a house, with the bills, with careers, 2 careers. I've got the finance career, which is all surrendered to the divine. It orchestrates my life for me, and you've got the spiritual coaching career as well, which is whenever the divine needs or requests me to be with someone, it happens. You can't stop it. It just happens. Someone wants you, you go in, and you say what is told for you to come through you to say, and it's such a peaceful life, because you have given your body over, your mind over, your ego, self, personalities all over, your relationships are all over to it, your finances are over to it. You have nothing, but in that nothing you have everything. It's absolutely free. It's a free mind. It's a free life, and it's really difficult to explain, because it is that free and that different to other people around you, and you feel at one with everyone, because everything is really in your perception. The body is a projection of the mind, and so when you perceive someone, you're seeing your own mind. They're reflecting your mind, and that's why you just want to hug them sometimes. It's joy. It is joy.
Yeah.
It's joy because it's a joyful life. It's only the mannerisms of the world that tells you not to be childlike,
Yeah.
and not to be like that, not to be innocent, But for me, people can laugh at me. I just want to be that childlike around them, and not be serious, because it's seriousness that actually got us into this state when we could believe that we could be separate from God. It's that seriousness that we took at the moment when the mind constructed individuality. We took it too seriously. If we just go back to not being serious and that childlikeness, you're free. It's an incredible life, honestly.
Yeah, I get that. Beautiful, beautiful. You actually answered half the questions that I had for you. That's beautiful. When you spoke about Shiva, and you spoke about the image, and then you speak about formless relationship with him. How do you have a formless relationship? How do you describe a formless relationship? And when you spoke about Shiva, obviously you're talking about the image of the man sitting on the mountain with a trident, yeah.
Yes,
and then
yes,
obviously
yes.
his formless aspect, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, there's different ways to say this, actually. So when I say formless, I mean not in person. That's the first thing I mean. So traditionally, I know in Advaita Vedanta you have a guru in present with you,
Yeah.
usually, and so it's not a guru that's with me in person. It's a guru in, firstly, doesn't have a physical form, is what I mean. However, in the mind there is an image. So it's not formless in the mind, but there is an image, and that image takes when you could say you could meditate on it, or you could think of it. In fact, I just think of it. When you know what the image is, it sits on top or in front of what is formless, like a universal divine mind. And so the moment you think of it, you are in that divine mind, that universal mind immediately, and so it's like you think of it, and that's the image I want to use. That's the protector for me. It represents God, you could say. Represents God. Or we know God is formless, of course, we know. But it represents that, and it takes you into what you are, into our divinity, into our light. So that's what I do. I think of, whenever there's anything that happens in our life, and there's so many things that do happen here. It's a busy London life. The kids are so little. The kids are fighting with each other. The kids have got so many things happening in their life. So many problems too. You've made dinner for them, they've thrown it all over the floor. You're playing with them, and then there's something here, a tantrum here. There's so much beauty in that too, because it's a reflection of you. It's a reflection of you. All the tantrums are you making the tantrum, saying to God, I want to be an I. I want to be an I. I want to be an I, and it's a reflection of that coming out in these, I call them dream figures. I wouldn't say it to their face, but when I say dream figures, I mean they're changing images of form, and so in order to love them, you don't fall in love with the image. You love the love of them that is permanent. So you if you fall in love with the image, it's suffering, because the image is consistently changing. So you're in love with something that isn't really there, and that's why you fall from love, because you are love. You fall from love, and now you're in love with an image that's changing. So you're lost. So it's loving love, that changeless part of them, and and that's how you love them, no matter what they're doing. They could tear the house apart, but you know what they are. You see beyond the tantrums. You see yourself. Which I think is incredible, when you can see yourself in it, and you're grateful too, because they're reflecting your mind. They're a reflection of the way you think, or the way that you thought when you believed you were separate from God, and that you could be away from God, and so the tantrum is you. And so how can you not love that now? How can you not love that? And so it's beautiful for me in my life, because I get to I guess experiment on them. I get to release everything that keeps me coming back in rebirth through them, and we all know about the cycle of rebirth, where we finish the life and we come back over again. You call it karma. A Course in Miracles calls it unconscious guilt. So unconscious guilt is the belief that we are separate from God, and God loves us unconditionally, but we rejected his love, and we said, no, that's not enough. I want to be an I want to be separate from God, and I want to be something else, and so you fall into that cycle of self-creation over and over again, and you create different images, different people, and this image is Akash, and the image before in different lives was a different self-image, and you get stuck in that self-image over and over, and you're suffering, really. You're suffering because you're away from the creator, you're away from the source of love. And so of Course in Miracles calls it unconscious guilt, because it's the guilt that we believe that we actually believe we're separate from God, but actually it's a belief. It's a deep belief, and beliefs can be changed. Beliefs, you go to the source of it, it can be changed. Perception can be cleared, and everything outside that you're seeing is a reflection of the unconscious guilt, believing you're separate from source. When there's problems outside, even wars and and bad weather, and it's all your world. It's the perceiver. It's the perceiver who perceives everything. You know, you are, if you see it, it's your interpretation inside of what you're seeing. You know, there is a, you know, when if you are only with the light, you can see something and you cannot see it as suffering.
Yeah.
You know, because you don't see it separate.
Yeah.
You don't see it as separateness. You also don't join the sides. You know, if there's a war going on, you don't join the sides. Even the things like football, you know, soccer's big in the UK.
Yeah.
You know, you support a certain team, but then you don't join a side. The moment you join a side, you've entered the battleground. You know, you've entered that battleground. So you just observe it as a witness, luckily, happily detached.
Yeah.
And you observe it, and you're so open to whatever happens.
Yeah.
Nothing can upset you, you know. And it's a way of living. Actually, it's a way of living that I actually is what I do. And I think what's triggered it is I've had enough of suffering. You know, is when you reach that suffering that you just have so much annoyance with it that you want to end suffering forever. You know, and it's that intensity and that determination that you are going to end the suffering, and you do end suffering, because you realize that you are the perceiver, you're not the perceived.
Yes.
You know, and so it's absolute freedom. You know, of course you would know this too, in your ways as well. I know you've studied the Upanishads as well. I mean, I do remember the Panchakosha from the Upanishads. I think it's Taittiriya Upanishad, the Panchakosha, the five sheaths, which was, this is incredible. You know, really that self-inquiry is incredible as well. You know, and you go through the five sheaths and you realize that actually you're not Annamaya, you're not Pranamaya, you're not Manomaya, you're not Vijnanamaya, you're not Anandamaya, you are beyond them all. You know, it's absolutely incredible that you are that you've taken, it's like a Russian doll set. You know, you've taken them all, you've gone to the center, and you think there's nothing, but actually in that nothing is absolutely everything. It's absolutely everything. It's freedom. It's, you know, and you do get to a place, though, I've got to say, where there's nothing to do. There's nothing to do, in the sense that there's nothing to achieve. You don't have ambition. You don't have desires. You don't have problems. You don't have problems. And the reason why you don't have problems is because all problems come from the belief that you're separate from God. But when you realize you're not separate from God, and that was a belief that you hold very dearly, you don't have problems. You know, Akash on the surface may appear to have problems, but you are not the body mind. You are beyond the body mind. So you just forgiving and releasing it and walking back home into oneness. You know, life just becomes that walking back home.
Yeah.
You know, and there's also simultaneous time occurring. So simultaneous time is when you have, in the linear time, it looks like you're walking back home. But actually, simultaneous time, if you see all the time happening at once, you're already home. Right. You know, you're already there. So there's no way that you could not go back there. You're already there. You're dreaming this existence. You know, and it's you're already there. If you look at it and you get the awareness, there's an awareness that is shared with you by the divine, that you are. Well, you're everywhere. It's incredible. Like, you're everywhere at once. And that, you know, I was just looking at the leaves today on a tree in the garden, and you could see, I was looking at the leaves, and the leaves were moving in the wind. And there was an awareness that came through that actually the particles outside of the leaf and the particles inside of the leaf are the same particles. It's just an illusion of density. You know, it's the mind moving.
Yeah.
You know, so it's incredible. And therefore, and then I am, that particles are me, that universal particles that is everywhere. and you just like, wow, like you just realize that it's this is magnificent, you know.
We just missed out, I think, the last 10
Oh,
seconds of
sorry,
what
and,
you
and
say.
you just sorry, you just realize then as the tree appears to move, it's actually the mind that's moving,
Yeah.
and there's and that mind is you, you know. It's all together. We're all together.
That's a Buddhist thought, isn't it? There's a
Mm,
story of that in Buddhism,
there is
where
actually, yeah, yeah.
where there's a like a group of monks from the monastery look through the window and they see a flag waving in the air, and one of them says, "Look, the flag is moving," and another one says, "No, no, don't be silly. It's the wind that's moving." And the third one says, "Don't be silly. It's the mind that's moving."
It's the mind. Yeah,
And
it's
the
the mind.
fourth one, who really wants to go to sleep, he says, "Cut out all the crap. Too much
Yeah.
tongue moving. Your tongues are moving." Uh, Akash, I can see the excitement. I had all this excitement as well when it really dawned upon me. It was like the entire world needs to hear this. How could we miss this? You know. And I started off with the devotion as well. So I used to meditate on Krishna. I'm diehard
Oh,
devotee of Krishna, completely
beautiful.
surrendered to Krishna.
Yeah.
And so I used to meditate on Krishna. And then after a few months, suddenly, whenever I would visualize Krishna, he would disappear and my meditation would come over me. And at
Mm,
that point, I did not know what I had never heard of non-duality, awareness, consciousness, never heard of them. And
yeah.
I couldn't figure out what was going on until one of
Mm,
my friends pushed me into Vedanta. And then I
yeah.
started understanding. And that got me on the path of Advaita Vedanta. Now you're calling Shiva Guruji. Did you study any Shaivism, Kashmiri Shaivism? Because in that, your story of uh, the children are you. Whatever is happening is your own projection, your own mind, and because you believe yourself to be separate from God. In Shaivism, it's basically Shiva is imagining himself to be you and the children
Mm,
and everything, because
mm,
there is only Shiva, or you can say there is only God. And now
yeah.
God wants to experience the universe.
Yeah.
How can he experience it? The only way to do it is to believe himself to be that which he is not. So God is
Yes.
playing as you, as the children,
Mm,
to
yeah.
experience the unreality in a realistic way.
Yes, yes, that's a beautiful way to say it. No, I actually haven't studied it. I haven't studied. I
Oh,
found that once I studied A Course in Miracles,
yeah,
that was it.
yeah,
Now, if I mean my learning has ceased,
yeah,
but just for fun,
yeah,
because you when you hear things that sound very similar, it's
yeah,
just interesting to
yeah,
know
yeah,
how other people do it
yeah,
and how other people have found their ways. And
yeah,
and when you hear similar things, you think, oh wow, that's a different way of saying it,
yeah.
you know. And there's a joy in that too. There's a joy in
Yes,
seeing something said and done the same thing in a different way.
that's the
So
point of this
you
podcast.
appreciate it. Yeah, and you appreciate it. You
Yeah,
appreciate that it's the same message, but it's just
yeah.
said in a different way, isn't it? And yeah, this podcast is fantastic for that, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Like you've spoken about the Course of Miracles, and a few other people who I had on spoke about it, and it's really got me thinking that I need to check it out because it sounds, like you said, it's the Western version of Advaita Vedanta.
Yeah,
It just makes me want to go
similar.
and
Yeah, I mean
find
it's
out what
similar.
it's talking
I
about.
start it's similar, but it's A Course in Miracles is really what I find is just very practical in my life. Okay,
Okay.
so I know Advaita Vedanta that the solution tends to be meditation, isn't it? And it's I mean what else would it's
Advaita Vedanta
self-inquiry.
is the path of knowledge, Jnana Yoga. So you've got to understand that which cannot be understood. You've got to,
Yes.
yeah, logically. So it's
Yeah.
logic, with a logical mind, without asking anyone to believe in something or sitting in a cave for 10 years. Just using your
Yes.
intellectual faculty to understand that which cannot be understood. So
Mm,
that's what Advaita works on, to
yeah.
make you understand. How do I even put it? You've
Is
got
there
to
a lot of
know.
meditating? Is there a lot of
Uh,
meditating
no,
there?
no, no, not at all. The Advaita Vedanta, on the path of devotion, you've got to believe in a God or in a higher power, and
Mm,
you've got to have faith and surrender and love and devotion. That's a
Yes.
belief. And when you believe in something, you believe in something that you have not experienced. Otherwise, it
Yes.
would not be a belief.
Yeah.
Advaita Vedanta tells you that you've got to experience the divine, call it God, call it the truth, call it the universe, call it whatever you want. You've got to experience it in every single activity of your daily life. So, like
Mm,
right now, we're talking, this should
yeah.
be divine.
Yes.
When you're having a fight with your spouse, that's divine. You've got to see
Yeah.
divinity in every activity, not just sitting in meditation. Like
Mm,
Ramakrishna, the guru of Swami Vivekananda, he
yeah.
would say, if I close my eyes and sit, I see God. I open my eyes and there is no God. What kind of God is this? Who disappears when I open my eyes? So
Yeah.
Advaita Vedanta says you've got to see divinity in every single activity.
Mm.
Now, you speak about being guided after a course in miracles. This led you to authoring your book, introducing you to your own perfection. Talk about that.
You know what? I never thought I'd be an author. My favorite subject was always maths. I loved maths, and maths was my thing. I just was good at it, and writing was not something I was good at. What happened was, you have so much knowledge. You know where you are, but it's just too much knowledge, and so COVID actually happened, right? And I remember March. It came in March 20 in the UK, I believe,
Yeah.
2020. And as it came in, everyone was working from home, and everyone had a different lifestyle, come onto us. We're all going through so much in so many different ways. And I actually had my firstborn baby as well. She was very young, and my wife was pregnant with baby number 2, actually. And I had so much information, I had to get it down. And so in the evenings after work, I would spend all evening and early hours of the morning just writing it down. No intention of writing a book, you know. And in their nap times, when my little one was having a nap and my wife was having a nap too because she was pregnant, I would sit there and I would write, just write to get it all down onto the laptop. And slowly, after about 6 to 9 months, there was 75,000 words. And I just thought, this, I can't believe I've written a thesis, what's actually happening right now. And so I showed it to my wife and she said, what is this? So I organized it into chapters and I sent it out to a couple of publishers, and one publishing company loved it, and they wanted to take it on. And so we moved through the process, and we, I remember at the time the material and the way I was living was very raw still. It was so much information, and it was being demonstrated in life, but it was the clarity of how to do it in a systematic way was a little bit, it was new information. It was like I knew what I was, but how I have a way of living with this. And so I had to get it down in order to kind of bring some structure to my life with it and how to use this going forward. And so when the book came out, it became almost like my Bible in that respect. It was like, yeah, this is how I'm going to live my life. There's so much going on with children and 2 careers and mortgages and houses, how maintain a house, and you live in busy London. How do you do non-duality with this? You're in the middle of the mist of everything, And so when I got that down, I said, look, I need to try and get some endorsements, is what my publisher was saying. I said, oh no, who's going to endorse this book, So I sent it out firstly to Anita Moorjani. Anita Moorjani is New York Times best-selling author. She's got
Dying to be
she's
me.
Dying to be me, yeah. So I sent it out to her. She loved the book. She read the book. I said, my goodness, you love my book. I couldn't believe it. It's Anita Moorjani, and she read the book and she loves the book. And she said, I would definitely want to endorse your book. So it's on the front cover of the book, which surprised me. And then A Course in Miracles actually has a really you would say living right now has a teacher which is like world renowned. You know, he knew the people and was friends with the people who wrote the book in the 60s, and so his name is Gary Renard, and I thought, oh, I'll have to just send this to Gary Renard, you know. And so I sent it to Gary Renard, and Gary Renard said, your book is so important, you know. I would love to endorse it. It's so clear, and yeah, most definitely. And I couldn't believe it, because you know, you're just writing things down from source, you know, you're just taking it down. You have no intention to write a book, and then suddenly that happens, and you just think, oh wow, this is for humanity, you know. And then of course the Guruji Sangat. I was immediately connected to one of the global authors there, Anita Kumar. So Anita Kumar has written a couple of books. She's with Orm Books in India, and she immediately read the book and she said, well, I have to write the forward for it. She said, Guruji's told me to write the forward. I said, really? You know, I said, okay, thank you so much. And so she wrote the forward for it, and the book, it slowly turned into a book, you know. And it's out, it's available. It's actually this here. It's actually this. It's introducing you to your own perfection, and it just came out of literally nowhere, and it's helping a lot of people actually, because people message me through social media and they ask me questions on the book, and we have coaching sessions with a lot of the people who've got so many questions, and also I think they usually, to hear A Course in Miracles being lived by someone with my lifestyle, very normal, and also Indian, actually, you know, I'm not studying Advaita Vedanta, you know, it is actually a little bit unique in that respect, and so it's just connecting with those that need it. Basically,
it's completely based on non-duality.
It walks us through 9 chapters effectively. The first chapter talks us through the separation from God.
All right.
The origins of that separation from God. The next chapter goes into self-inquiry, which is the 5 koshas. And the one after that goes into I think it's death, goes into death, the topic of death. It also then goes into the body, goes into ego. So ego is the biggest chapter, because the ego and how it uses its you would say how it uses its thought system to cause suffering to us. It goes very intensely into all of that.
How does the Course of Miracles deal with ego? Because in Advaita Vedanta, you can logically prove it that it's non-existent, it's imaginary.
Yes.
It does not exist. It's just a belief.
Exactly, and that's exactly what it is. So it's actually a belief system that it's a thought system. It's a belief thought system. And it only exists if you believe in it. Basically, if you don't believe in it, it ceases to exist. And there is some residue in your life, because you couldn't, as you go through this, you would say awakening, as you go into this, you do see pain and suffering in your perception, but that's because the ego thought system is so it's a surrendered life now, so you're giving everything over, your perception over, to the divine. So it's almost like you've got the tools now with holy forgiveness, and the scenes come up in front of you now. So the divine says, okay, give me this one. And there's something painful in front of you, maybe. He's basically saying, this is in front of you, just give this to me, right? It's like that. So then there's something painful happening in front of you, and then you say the miracle. So what I say is, you're innocent, whole, in my mind, you're innocent, whole in spirit, all is forgiven, all is released. I'm innocent, whole in spirit, all is forgiven, all is released. The separation from God never happened, and we're both in perfect oneness with our Creator eternally. And that's handing over the incorrect perception to the divine. And there's a subtle pain, but only because you are it's like a triggering point in order to give over to the divine to end suffering. It's like a touch in to say, this is what you're holding on to, give it to me, you know. And so there's a touch of pain, and then it moves into joy like that, because you just touch it and then it's gone, and immediately it's joyful, you know. It's like that. It's and you walk through life like this, and you're performing the miracle, and it's surrendered. So because it's life is surrendered, whatever arises, it's just handed over, you know. And it's undoing the ego. It undoes the ego for you on your behalf, because you can't do it, because there's a confusion of what you are, and so you hand out the situation to the divine dissolves it effectively, and it's a life of dissolving, and it could well be your last life. You know, it really could. I mean, at our age, it could well be, you know, a life of this. It's you might not want to be here again, you know, and so it's a choice. It's a choice. You might not want to do this again, and so if you don't have an ego anymore, what's there to be here for? You know, you're in oneness with God, which is perfect, which is the kingdom, which is everything you ever wanted. It's all there.
It does have an element of love and devotion and belief and faith, isn't it? So if somebody did not have faith or believe in God, the Course of Miracles would not work for somebody like that.
You must have a belief in God.
You've got to have belief. So it's devotion and belief and faith.
Yeah. So at the very start of it, it's understanding what you are and your relationship to God. So I think Advaita calls it Brahman, doesn't it? It calls the absolute truth Brahman, and A Course of Miracles calls it, well, it's oneness with God. Okay. Now in that oneness is God and only God. However, what God did was God extended itself in order to create a child. It extended itself, and the child is identical to God in every single way. Like one child, it's an extension, and that one child is absolutely the same as God in every single way. However, the only difference, if you could even think of one, was it did not create itself. God created the child, and the child, you know, it's not the creator. Basically, there's the created, the creator, and the created. Yeah, and that's the only difference: the creator and the created. Okay, and together they're in oneness, in perfect. They sit on the throne, you could say, of eternity together. It's perfect. But the child wanted to know what it would be like to be away from God. There's a question. And that one child, that question from that one child led to subsequent beliefs that led to a separated mind, an egoic separated mind, which effectively led, it's a dream away from the God. It's not real. You can never be separate from God in reality, but it's a dream away from God, you know, that you could be an I, and it's that separated mind that creates that, and you're kind of just undoing it all now. You're just unraveling it all. And actually in eternity, it was over in an instant. It was over in an instant. It never really happened. It's like happened. That. It's like it never really happened in eternity, you know. But from linear time, from where we are, it looks like a lot has happened, you know. But actually, in eternity, it never even happened. It was just it was nothing, basically nothing. And so, back to your point, the ego really is nothing. It's whatever you want it to be, you know. But we have so much investment in it, you know, in the world, you know, invests in it so much, doesn't it?
We've been conditioned, right? I also sit and think about how did I end up believing myself to be this? It's right from childhood. We're conditioned. We're told you this, and suddenly the mind starts to understand, oh, this is me, and then start referring to I am this. To interact with the world, you've got to do that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
never the ego is important to work in and be in society, in the world, and transact with people. You can't walk around saying I'm the divine and I'm consciousness, I'm Brahman, you know. So it is important, but then you realize that it never was real.
Mm,
And not
yeah.
only that,
Yeah.
with that comes your entire life was never real.
Yeah. No,
Everything you've
exactly.
worked towards. Um,
Yeah.
you, like you said, you do a lot of people come up to you on social media, ask questions. Do you do one-on-ones? Do you have any courses? Um,
Mm.
what do you offer to people who come, and how do you teach them? What's your unique way of taking somebody and making them realize what you've realized?
So at the moment, because I've got small children, it tends to be it's a busy life in that. But actually, what I do is it's coaching one-to-one sessions. I think as life evolves, I think it will become more about group sessions, and it will probably um, it will evolve more, I believe. But I think for now, it's the one-to-one sessions, and what we teach in the one-to-one sessions it is a person-to-person basis, I gotta say, because um, they have different problems in different ways, but once you know the truth meets them where they are. It's like the spirit in within you meets the person where they are and then reconciles it back. It's like that, to individually to each person that it meets. And the stuff that comes through for me, I mean, I'm like, wow, sometimes like so, wow, like because it's very open. Like
Yeah.
what I do is completely, it's the mind is completely empty. It's completely open, and
Okay.
so words pop in, images pop into your mind. you know Sometimes there's a person that I trying to describe as well, like, and they say, oh, I think you're describing this person. What's the name? A name comes through. I mean, I'm not a psychic.
Yeah.
I'm not psychic, but you're so open that you become the messenger in that respect, and you don't change the message. A messenger doesn't change the message.
Yeah.
And a messenger just simply takes the message and gives the message. It doesn't try to alter the message.
Yeah.
It just says whatever's there, and that's it. That's really
Yeah.
what it is. And sessions can be they can be longer, some of them can be regular.
Okay.
But for me it's not packages that I offer and all that sort of stuff.
Oh,
It's just if you need me, we'll make some time available, and some
okay.
of them are regular because there's so many questions with this,
Yeah.
and it's walking their hand through that, and also giving them their space to do this as well, the way that I had my space to come through this. And really what you're always doing is you're pointing to the divine. Always. That's really what you're doing. You
Yeah.
can't do this for them. You're just saying you're helping them to build a relationship with the divine so that the divine can take over. Because at the moment
Okay.
there's not quite the divine there. There's something else there that they believe in. And so you're just constantly pointing at the divine, and questioning the way they think as well.
Okay.
Because the way
Okay.
they think is with the ego thought system,
Okay.
and it goes into that. So that the coaching is really good. It's really fun, actually. We have a lot of fun with the coaching. There's also we've got quite a big online presence, so we are on all the platforms. So akashsky.awakening, it's on TikTok. It's quite popular on TikTok. It's on Instagram. It's on Facebook. It's on Twitter, X. We've got YouTube, but YouTube's are more videos of me,
Yeah.
of going through A Course in Miracles and sharing that with the world. We're on Threads as well. So we've got a whole positioning open for people to
Oh.
come in, or the divine to come in through them and connect us, basically. So
Yeah.
it's all there. And also in my daily life, I meet people, and there's a lot of love in that union as well, because some people have questions there on the spot. I drop the kids to nursery and I've got parents who ask questions, and so that it comes into my life from different people in different circumstances. It's a way of living. It really is it's a way of living, and that way of living is why we're here, to live the divine, while you appear to be here. Yeah.
That is brilliant. Now, wow, this is crazy. You described the kind of questions, are they related to like life problems or domestic problems, or is it questions about non-duality and the divine and whatever?
Yeah, so
Nothing
there's
sentimental.
usually there's usually suffering involved in some
Suffering.
shape.
Okay.
They're
Now,
usually
what
suffering.
what about in Advaita Vedanta? They are very straightforward. If you say there's a God and there's a you, that's duality,
Yes.
right? So
Yeah.
you've got to realize that the you that you are is imaginary. It's appearing in the divine, and that divine, you can call it the reality. That is what
Yes.
Brahman is. Brahman has two aspects, the unmanifest and the manifest. So the
Yes.
formless and the form. The formless is not separate from the form. So what about people who come to you and if you talk about the divine and not interested in God, they might someone might just think, oh, you're gonna introduce me to another God. You're asking me to surrender to this one now. How do you deal with something like that?
So for me, it's not it's you use the symbol that you like, so it all
Okay.
works for you. So it's not it all of us have, like for me, being a Hindu, it's very comfortable to pick a symbol like Krishna or Ram, or for me it was Lord Shiva and Guruji. It's very comfortable to do that. It would be uncomfortable to use other symbols, because you're just not familiar with it, but we just need to realize that when we surrender to that symbol does really guide us through our life, and a lot of people don't have that connection because they don't want to surrender. They don't want to. They are fully invested in their body mind. That they really believe they are. And so actually, we do go into that. We go into what they are, and we go deep into it. And I actually sometimes do use the Upanishads, the Panchakosha, into that, and we do go into them. But we go into the self so deep that we realize actually you're not that, and that's the initial trigger for them, that they're not that. And some of them actually they go on their way knowing that, and they it could be that they come to me just for a stepping stone on their journey, and then they just realize that, like, I've been living a lie, I've been living and they have so many questions, but they just want to figure them out themselves. But after that, and you give them the space to do that, and you're available if you need anything, but some of them wanted to intensely go more into it. And so I give them Course in Miracles. There's a free download of Course in Miracles, so we'll share that with them. There's a study group in North London we've got here, so that introduce them to the right people as well if they want to study A Course in Miracles. There's some of them, they want to book. So, there's Gary Renard's books that I recommend. And there's also obviously, so there's a lot of that as well. So
great. I will put all those links below in the video. Do send me all this, whatever you've mentioned. I'd love to have, whoever is interested, at least get in touch. You spoke about your book. You had so much knowledge and you had to let it out. I had the same experience.
Did you?
Once I got it, it was like, I'm a pop singer. I'm a Punjabi Bhangra artist. And
Beautiful.
so when I got into this, it was like, how am I going to start talking to people about this? People are going to think I've lost it. I've lost my mind. Pop singer now talking about non-duality. You're not the body. You're not the mind. So I thought I'll put everything in books as well. I'll publish them, and the right people will find them at the right time. I actually would have. I can describe it like a download. Literally, like a pen drive being pumped into my brain.
Is it called Akashic Record? Is it called Akashic Records? I think they call it the Akashic Records, which is all the information of the universe, and we download it. I think they call it.
So I like literally, I would say I had all my books downloaded, and I wrote 10 books in 1 year.
That's
I was
so
writing a book,
intense.
one book a month. I was doing that. Um,
Wow.
I was going to, the reason I'm coming to this is I covered the Panchakosha as well in my second part, in the second
Ah,
book. And
lovely.
you say you do that with your participants. Can I
Yes.
act as one of your participants? Would you want to do the five koshas with me? It
Yeah,
would
we
be
can.
really great for the people listening and watching.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
I hope you're not getting late. Just another
Uh,
5-10 minutes. Is that
no, we
okay?
can do. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd love
So
that.
yeah. So with the Panchakosha, we've got Anaya,
An
Annamaya, the very
Annamaya?
start.
Yeah.
So with Annamaya, it's the body effectively.
Okay.
So
Just guide as you would be guiding somebody who's come to
yeah.
you.
So with Annamaya, what we have is we have 5 layers that are ultimately covering our what we really are. And we don't really realize that because we believe we are the layers. And so with the first layer is as Annamaya, which is the body. And there's lots of things happening. There's so much, there's blood flowing through the veins. There's oxygen being created throughout the body. There's feelings that are coming through in the body, and the body's always changing. So as we go deeper, we realize that we are not the body, because the body is well, of course, in Miracles will call it a dream figure. The body used to be young, used to be a baby, and it then grew up through adolescence, and it ages and it goes through changes continuously. And so as we go and look at Annamaya, we realize that actually that cannot be us, right? Because as we go deeper to the next level, the next layer inside of us, we realize that we still exist beyond the body. The body is the known, it's not the knower. Yeah. So then we go deeper into that and we see the next layer. Okay. So the next layer is pranamaya. Now, prana is the life energy force. Okay. And that life energy force is really what I would say gives life force to life to us. It's you could say it's the astral body in that respect, because it still continues after the body is gone, right? So the prana is that which gives the body health. It's underneath it, yeah. But there's something deeper with prana. Prana is still changing, like the body is changing. Prana is still also changing. Okay. Now prana is changing because sometimes your energy levels are high, sometimes your energy levels are low. And so as we go and we see that, we can see there is changing happening here. Sometimes I am sick, sometimes I am not sick. It is the cause of prana that does this. And because that is changing, that is not us. So we then go deeper into, it's a subtle object, is what prana is. As we go deeper into what we are, this is the next one, is manomaya. Manomaya is the tricky one because it's the one that we believe we are. It's the mind. Manomaya is exactly me thinking I'm Akash. It's the mind of the personality, right? Now, the mind of the personality is always changing. Akash used to be really good at trigonometry, but not anymore. Used to be really good at calculus, but not anymore. Akash used to be really bad at the gym, but he's very good now. It's the mind there that is always changing. Okay. Now, it's the mind's activities always circulating. And it's the I that says that I am Akash and I am nothing else. Now, because this is changing, we go into another level deeper. And we go deeper into that because we go into something beyond what should be changed. We're looking for what is changeless effectively here.
Yeah.
And that's still changing, right? Now, don't forget, it's the mind that's creating the body health at the end. When the mind holds grievances and problems, it filters through the prana energy levels and filters through and shows the effect in the body. So if the mind takes in attack thoughts and says, you've done this to me, it filters through into the prana, and that filters through into the body, and the body suffers. So it's actually the mind here that's causing the suffering. It's not the body. The body's the effect. Okay. So we then go deeper into the next one, Vijnanamaya. Vijnanamaya, Vijnanamaya, you might say it better than me.
Vigyanmaya, yeah.
Vijnana, you pronounce it better than me. Vijnanamaya. Vijnanamaya is, well, it's the intellect. Okay, so as we go into the intellect, now the intellect is an instrument of the mind. They're together, they are together, but the intellect is the one that makes the decisions. Okay, now decision making are always changing as well, because we are changing our mind. We can change our mind now, again, and we can say we are not an ego self-personality, we are that beyond it. So we can change our mind. And as the intellect is there, always making the decisions for us, we want to go deeper into what we are still, because that is still changing further and further and further. And so we go deeper into what we are still, and we go to Anandamaya. And Anandamaya is the bliss sheath. Now, what's interesting with this sheath is that it's actually very subtle. It's got a very thin field of activities. It's not quite, there's not quite free. You know, this realm, I'm going to call it a realm, because when you have deep sleep at night and you wake up, something knows that you had a restful, peaceful sleep. And as you know, that something knows that you had a peaceful sleep. You know, it also, when I have my chocolate bar, and I love this chocolate bar, it's going through the body, through the prana, through the mind, it's going through the intellect, and it's gone to Anandamaya. I'm in joy, I'm in bliss at this moment, but it doesn't last, does not last. Doesn't last because the mind is conditioned, and it drags you back through it. It drags you back through, and you lose the bliss. And because it drags you back, it's not what you are. It is still changing, you know. And so after that, we then realize, well, we've unpeeled the onion. What are we? And suddenly we know that we are that which is changeless. You know, it's empty of objects, but full of itself. And that is what is free. That is what we are, and that is what we should live a life of. We don't live a life of all these changing things. Why would you? You know, if you live a life of the change, you're in nothing. You are literally in nothing, because it's like you're not ever permanent. You're just fixated on this and it's changed, fixated on this and it's changed, this and it's changed. That's not life. Life is always. Life is always will be. Life is all existence at once that is permanent. It's changeless. That's what we are, you know, and that's the bliss of what we are. And that should come through in everything we do here. You know, if I've got screaming children, that's fine. It's coming from me, right? It's coming from me. It's coming through my perception, you know, and as we start to realize that, we take ownership, you know, we don't ever think that we are this very small person anymore. We start to open up, and we start to see it is all me, and I am free. And we talk about mental health. That is mental health. Mental health is going beyond the mentalness, isn't it? You go into past and under Maya, you go into that which doesn't change, you know, and that is when you are united with the self, you know, and as you are united with the self, you are complete and whole, and you're innocent, you know, you become that innocent being, you know, and them layers just need to be understood, and we don't need to, if we're not Indian, we don't need to get confused with the terms. We just need to know what they all are in English, you know, as well.
Absolutely.
You know, I don't speak Punjabi or Hindi. I understand it.
Okay.
I understand it, but I'm UK. I'm
Yeah.
very, you know, I'm not into any of that. But I immediately saw the layers, and I just thought, it's a wonderful way to put it, actually. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much for that. Akash, we're running out of time. One final thing, anything that you would like the viewers to know, anything that I would have missed out that you would want to talk about and share with listeners, viewers?
I think that anyone can do this.
Yes,
You know,
it's your
I was
birthright.
I was in my 30s. You know, I was a young man, married with kids. You know, you can call on it whenever you want to call on it on. You decide. You decide. When you've had enough of all the suffering, you can decide now. You know, you don't even have to. I'll tell you that something with me is I refuse to suffer even the subtlest of things. My wife, if she eats the last toast of bread, and I wanted a jam on toast, right? There's a little bit of suffering there. I refuse to suffer. I refuse to suffer. I release it, and it has gone. You know, it's that sort of discipline that you need to have, right? To keep your peace. You keep your peace in everything you do. You know, I'm in London City, so busy, so much is happening, right? I can't even tell you the activities. There's so much happening all the time, right? But what I'm saying is, if you refuse to suffer and you just stick with your peace, and you only, because it's your peace to give away, and we give it away to the ego all the time. You know, it uses all of its ways to claw you back in, right? But once you go beyond it and you taste the nectar, you will not want anything again ever. It's simple as that. Once you reach that and you taste it, oh, nothing will taste again the same. It's beyond it. And you know, if I could do it in my 30s, anyone can do it. You know, and the circumstances I'm in, I'm not a monk, but you live it. You live it. You live it. You can do it. Anyone can do it. You know, and there's a commitment that you must have to bring in knowledge. You know, if you don't have the knowledge, you ask for it. It will deliver. It will deliver as well, as you know, in many different ways. It delivers for you in your way. It delivers. The course was for me, so it delivered in my way. You know, I just kept asking, and it come. You know, and I rest at its feet. I rest at the divine's feet daily. Morning, I touch in my mind Guruji's feet and Jesus's feet. I'm just there. I'm just there at their feet, and in fact, I'm there all day. I'm there every day. There's not a moment. And right now, I pictured his feet, their feet. I'm just there. Choose a symbol for you. Just the reason why we don't want to surrender is because we are afraid of what we think that we're afraid of what we are. We've made this place. You know, we've made a place which is away from home. So we're really just in a desert, and that desert is. Jesus calls it a bereft of water. There's no water here. And you're seeing mirages outside. You're thirsty, right? But you're just seeing out there, you're seeing a dream, right? You're seeing things that are not there, you know, and it's when we go into we go into the audience with Jesus and Guruji or whatever symbol you want to use next to you, you hold their hand and you watch the scene. You watch the scene. I cannot be hurt by what is happening outside there. Only my thoughts about it can upset me. Yeah. And then thoughts are just observe it. You know, different people do different things with the thoughts. I release it immediately and give it through holy forgiveness. Some people, they let it pass. They just, they They almost like watch it go by, you know, and it just goes. For me, it's a handover. I give it to the divine. I see it and I just give it to the divine, and it's done. You know, that's you whatever works for you, whatever works for you, you know. But you don't bring reality to it. If you bring reality to it, then you've
Yeah,
gone
you're stuck.
backwards. You've
Yeah.
gone backwards. You see it for what it is, a lie, and then you hand it over. Done, and it literally is done. You just jump up in joy. It's done. You are one step closer, right, to oneness, and in fact, in simultaneous time, you are already there. You are
Yeah.
already. That's the reason why there's just joy. There is just joy at every moment. You know, people don't really understand that, but there is only joy. You know, and a love which is unconditional. You know, there's no past. Everything that happened in your past does not exist. You know, you cannot touch it. You cannot be there again. You know, there's no future. The ego loves to bring your past into your future, to miss the present moment. It pushes it all forward to relive in that dream bubble. You stay in the present moment with no objects in your mind. You just stay there in the light. You just stay there in the light and you're free, you know? Even when there's things happening, I tell you, they've got children, I told you, they're doing all sorts of things, you know, they're swinging the doors, they might break the glass. It's okay. You go into that moment, you give it your full attention. When you give it your full attention, right, it cannot harm you. It cannot harm you. You give it your full attention, you're right there, absolutely fine. The freedom is there, right? You are free. You are free at every moment. Yeah, it's a decision. It's a way of living if you want to live that way or not, you know. So don't feel like you're tied down. If you're married, you know, and you think that you're tied down to someone, you know, and you've got kids and you've got commitments, you've got bills and you've got commitments. These are nothing. These are mental constructed ideas. Yeah. Obviously you stay, you live it. The body lives it, but I'm not the body. I'm I'm not the observed. I'm the observer. You know. So you watch it go through what it's going through, but that doesn't take away what I am. You know, this body's going to age. Next time we do interview in 30 years' time, you know, this will be a different body. You know.
Yeah.
It'll be very different.
Beautiful.
But
I love the passion that you have. That was beautiful. So well said. Like you said, you're in the busy city of London. I'm in the, I don't know what even to call it. It's Mumbai. It's Mumbai.
Mumbai is just, isn't it? I've heard about
Yeah.
Mumbai.
So,
What a great, what amazing.
Vivekananda says, for the person who heads towards the Himalayas to realize the truth has lost the way. And
Yes.
the one who plunges into the world and material wealth and all everything that's around us has also lost the way. So he says, don't go to the mountains, don't get involved into the reality. It's like we're right now in the middle. So that I feel that I can step out on a busy motorway right now and completely be at peace inside.
Yes. Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah. It's incredible because you surrender. It's like saying you wake up every morning and you say, I wonder what my perception will bring today. You know, because there's only what's out there is the way I perceive it.
For me, I'll tell you, it's more like it's a magic show going on around. I am watching it from the front seat.
Yeah.
A divine, and like you said, even pain and suffering is like entertainment. I mean, if God was to write a story, he would make the pain so painful and the hero so heroic. You know, the villain has to be a villain. A Ravan has to be a Ravan, powerful for a Ram to look good. You know, you wrote a book. My books were in fictional story format. So I have a Guruji, a Swamiji, I have a seeker, and I have a villain, and you live every character of that entire book knowing it's not true, but then you're making it real, and that's what's going on around here. So you know, when we say the number one question everyone asks, if there is a God, why is there suffering in the world? And I tell them, if God was to create a story, I mean, he would create it in the best way possible. If he's going to show grief and pain, he's going to show it to the extreme. He's going to show compassion to the extreme.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
only him.
And you've called all of these circumstances into your life. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
you've come here to you've come into darkness to show that you're the light. You know, you've come here to demonstrate this. This demonstration should be done every moment. At every moment, you should be demonstrating your divinity. You know, you don't need to hold back. You know, you will be fearless. You know, because you have nothing to worry about. You know, there's everything. We are free. There's only one mind here, and it's yours.
I love
One universal mind. And
Yeah.
how can you be afraid of your own mind? Unless you think that you are a little mind within the wider mind, then maybe you do. But when you take away the borders that make up that little mind, you'll see it's just an ocean of mind. So what is it to be afraid of? You know,
That's
the rivers
exactly what a
join.
dream is, isn't it? That's what a dream is. We dream up people, and then they scare us, and they do things to us in the dream,
Yeah,
and we
but when
take
you
that
have
to
no
be real.
borders, when you've got no borders, there's nothing. It's like the attack thought comes in, but there's no object for the attached thought to connect to or attach to. So it just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes into eternity. It's gone, dissolved. It's like that. There's no object here.
Yeah.
Of I. So it's just gone. You know, and for me, a lot of it is obviously witnessing and observing as well.
Okay.
You know, we start off with witnessing. We go through a process, and witnessing and observing the body is the first stuff you do. You observe your body as a figure, you know, as something that is not really you, but you are observing it, you know, and that you observe its activities, and if it causes you any discomfort, you move into holy forgiveness, and then you move deeper. You start to observe the mind, and as you observe the mind, you observe all the attack thoughts, and you observe how the mind says, of its typical ego. It says, "What are you going to do about this?" It's a typical question of the ego. What are you going to do about this? Typical question, you know.
Yeah.
And then you realize, which you are you talking about here? There's no you. There's no you, right? So you just it's being observed, and you release it. You release it as a it's just untrue.
Yeah.
What I'm seeing here as an attack thought is just untrue, right? And then you move deeper into the final bit, which is you could say the heart. You could say it's the feelings, the vibrations. It's feeling around you. How does this make me feel? When this makes me feel uneasy, unhappy, it's a trigger for release. If I'm not in joy, there is something in the way, and that something in the way needs to be left. It needs to be left behind, you know. And that going with your heart, you could say, and the feeling and the vibrations, and you just let it go as well. And once you go through these 3 different ways of witnessing, you are just with the self. You're just with the self, and there's nothing else here because you're full. And in fact, you have no fear of death. In fact, it's quite exciting. It's quite exciting, to be honest with you. It's like it could be the end. It could be the joining into oneness. It's the end, you know. It's me and my creator together, you know, on the throne in eternity. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. There are some mannerisms, though, I think sometimes, you know, you attend funerals. I don't know if you want to go with the funky hair, with the funky clothes, and you know, you might offend people, you know.
Yeah.
So different ways that you want to live your life.
Yeah.
I still like to blend in personally. I don't like to press this onto people. I like people to because they have their own lessons to learn. And in their own lessons to learn, you know, I wouldn't deny them that, you know.
Yes.
So that's another thing as part of the coaching. You can't stop them from going through what they have to go through, but you can give them the tools in order to live the life they have in front of them, to give them peace. That's the point here. You give them the tools. Once they have the tools, they've made it. They don't need me. I can go. In fact, I don't want to teach. You know, I don't want to teach. You just I give you the tools. I'm gone. I'm free. I don't need to be around you all the time. You know, it is much like that. Some teachers love it to keep coming back. Not me.
No.
I'll give you the tools. You go with them,
not a right
and
guru.
I'm gone.
Any teacher who wants to have disciples and keep
No.
them attached. That's the wrong teacher. You need
Yeah,
to
yeah,
get away
yeah.
from somebody and
You just want to get away. I mean, you
Yeah.
give the tools, you give the message, and you're gone. You're gone.
Yeah.
If it comes back, you wait for the divine. The divine will tell you what to do. You
Yeah.
know, and that's the beauty of it all. You don't correct people in person. You correct in the mind. You know, so if someone is in front of you talking gibberish through their ego, right? I don't personally, I don't correct them. I
Right.
don't go to their face and say, because I only see the divinity in them. I don't see the gibberish really. It's a lie, you know. So the correction happens in the mind. That's where the miracle happens. That's where I say, what I'm seeing here is a lie, because you are the divine light, and you're playing hide and seek with me. I can see you in there. You know, you're a liar, basically, and you see it, and you think, oh no, this is a lie. You know, you are. It's a lie, and you sometimes you have a giggle inside. You know, you laugh because it's just like this is not true. It's not true. But I don't correct in person.
Yeah.
I give I let them have their own lessons. I let them have, because when I was doing it and I was an ego, I wouldn't want to listen to anyone. You know, I think I'm right. That's the point of an ego. You think you're right when you think you know something when you know nothing. You know, that's the point of having an ego. You think you know it, but you don't. You don't know anything. And it's when you realize you know nothing that
Yeah.
actually everything arises. You know, which is beautiful.
Oh, Akash, we could go on. I have so many questions I would have spoken to you about, but maybe we'll do another one a few months down the line.
Yeah,
It would
maybe.
be
Yeah,
a pleasure to have you on again.
yeah,
We've gone way over time. I
yeah.
thank you so much. I will put all the links that you have said, and if you have the miracle of courses and the coaching and the teachers that you've mentioned,
Yeah.
send me those links. I'll put them down.
Yeah.
And
Perfect. Well,
I
thank you for
thank you
having me
so
on.
much.
No, I really appreciate you calling me on to this show. I love what you're doing here. You know, I love the fact that you've got so many different non-duality teachers coming on, and people who just live this way. Must be a joy for you as well, just to see how
Ah.
different people do it, you know. It's fascinating, isn't it? It's fascinating.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. There was no platform that I found where somebody was doing this. Usually, most of the platforms on YouTube, you'll find that there's a seeker talking to somebody who's teaching, and there's a
Yeah.
student disciple or guru relationship. But here, we're
Oh,
just talking, and we are just hoping that somebody who's listening might get something out of it. Yeah,
that's it.
it's just
That's all it
that's
is,
it.
you know. And you
That's
can
the hope,
connect
really.
to us in any way you want to. But
Yeah.
yeah, if they need anything. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's yeah, all the love to the audience. Thank you for spending your time watching us as well. We really appreciate it. Yeah,
All right. Thank you so much, Akash. We
thank
will
you.
get you again after a few months. I'm sure we will do that. Do you have any new books lined up? Any events in the future, in the weeks
You know
coming?
what? I've actually written I've written some material.
Okay.
But I'm holding it back, and I'm holding it back
So,
because I just want to focus on the kids, I think.
whenever that
And
book comes out,
I will
we'd love
I
to have
will
you in. Yeah, we'd
I'll
love to.
definitely let you know. Yeah, yeah, for
We'd
sure.
love to have you come and talk about it. We'd
Yeah.
nice to listen to that.
Oh, that'd be nice. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you
for
so much,
having me.
Akash. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And
Take
love
care.
and blessings to you.
All the best.